That bottle of method cleaner sitting under your sink, it might not be the eco-hero you think it is. I have spent 15 years working with professional cleaners, evaluating the real environmental impact of cleaning products. And I have seen how branding can make products feel greener than they really are. In this video, I am going to show you how the greenwashing machine actually works, why some premium natural products aren't as safe or sustainable as they look, and how to spot the brands that are genuinely doing the work. So, what exactly is greenwashing? It's when a company spends more time making you think a product is environmentally friendly than actually making it environmentally friendly. Marketing over substance, green packaging, labels with leaf icons, words like eco or natural, they sound good, but most of the time they don't actually mean much. And it's everywhere in the cleaning industry. The real problem isn't just wasted money. It's that greenwashing makes it almost impossible to tell the difference between brands doing a really good work and brands that are just have hired a good designer. Let's start with examples that even shocked me. Remember bamboo toilet paper? Bazoo, Naked Sprout, Bamboo. Bazoo claimed 100% bamboo, 100% tree-free. Laboratory testing showed it was actually only about 26% of bamboo. The rest, virgin hardwood, eucalyptus, acacia, the very trees they claimed you are saving. Naked Sprout about 4%. Bamboo around 2.7%. These weren't small mistakes, these were claims that didn't match what the test shows, and people were paying a premium price for them. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but this is just toilet paper, surely the big established brands don't do this. The ones that have compliance teams, lawyers and massive budgets, right? In 2022, the UK Advertising Standard Authority, the ASA, actually banned Persil advert. Not because it was offensive, because the environmental claim, kinder to our planet, is a marketing slogan, not a scientific fact. Unilever, the company behind Persil, couldn't prove that claim at all. But Persil wasn't alone. The Competition and Marketing Authority opened an investigation into Unilever's environmental claims across multiple brands. Cif, Comfort, The Works. The CMA found vague language like sustainable and better for the environment being used without a clear evidence behind it, while products were covered in green leaves and earthy colors to make consumers feel good about buying them. And it's not just big corporations either. And unfortunately, it's not even the worst part, the eco-branding illusion. First, let's talk about the ocean plastic claim. It sounds incredible, like every bottle you buy is helping clean up the ocean. And to be fair, Method genuinely were pioneers here. Back in around 2012, they were one of the first brands to start using plastic recovered from the ocean, including materials sourced through projects in places like Hawaii. At the time, this really was a breakthrough. But the reality, true ocean recovered plastics is extremely hard to scale. You can't pull millions of tons of clean, usable plastic out of the ocean and turn it into bottles. It is slow, it is expensive, and it's a limited process. So, as Method grew, they did what most people in sustainability would actually agree was the sensible move. They shifted to using coastal or ocean-bound plastic instead. That means plastic collected near coastlines and waterways before it ever reaches the ocean. That is still a good thing. In many cases, it stopped plastic becoming ocean waste in the first place. So, the issue here isn't that Method did anything wrong. In fact, they have been open about the shift. They innovated early, they hit the real world limits, and they adapted. The problem comes next. Ocean plastic turned into a hype term. Not because it was fake, but because the words made most people picture plastic being pulled straight out of the ocean. Fishing nets, bottles from the sea, big cleanup efforts. In reality, in most everyday products, it usually means plastic collected near the coastlines or on land before it ever reaches the water. That is still a good thing, don't get me wrong, but it's not the picture most people had in their heads. That's where other brands cross the line. Another SC Johnson brand, Windex, was hit with a class action lawsuit in the US over bottles labeled as 100% ocean plastic. The lawsuit argued that the claim was misleading because The plastic was actually ocean-bound plastic collected on land, not plastic recovered from the open ocean. That case is one of the reasons brands were forced to be much more specific about their wording. Instead of vague phrases like ocean plastic, they now have to say things like ocean-bound or coastal plastic and explain where the material actually comes from. The real lesson here isn't about methods. It's about how a genuinely good idea can turn into a marketing shortcut once it goes mainstream. Even then, you are still buying a single-use plastic bottle full mostly of water, which is why the industry is shifting slowly. A lot of sustainability experts would argue that refills and concentrates make far more sense in the long run. However, even a refill is only as good as what's inside it. Let's talk about ingredients. When you see a cleaning product labeled non-toxic, most people assume that means nothing in it can irritate the skin, cause a reaction, or raise concerns. But here is the problem. Non-toxic isn't a regulated term in household cleaning. It doesn't mean non-irritant, it doesn't mean allergy-free, and it doesn't mean safe for everyone. In the wider cleaning industry, most water-based products need preservatives to stop bacteria and mold growing. Some of the preservatives commonly used in cleaning are well-documented skin irritants or sensitizers for certain people. That's why dermatologists and regulators often warn that even everyday cleaning products can cause reactions with repeated exposure. Not because they are toxic, but because irritation and toxicity aren't the same thing. So, when a brand uses a term like non-toxic, it's easy for the consumers to think it is regulated, safety standard, when in reality, it's often just a marketing choice. And unless you already know how these labels works, you would never realize there is a gap between the wording and the reality. Then there is fragrance. When you see the word perfume, that single word can cover dozens of ingredients. Most people never think twice about it. You spray it in your home, around kids, around pets. But here's what most people don't realize. When a label says perfume, it doesn't list the individual ingredients that makes up the scent. It's a single word used to cover a whole mixture and you don't actually see what's inside it. That is why the label alone doesn't tell you the full story. And those bright colors, the pinks, the purples, the electric blues, they don't help cleaning. They are synthetic dyes added purely for appearance. So the product looks good on the shelf or on the counter. They don't make the cleaner works any better. And even if they are harmless, they don't really do the environment any favors either. They are washed down the drain and sent to the wastewater treatment plants where they have to be filtered out or broken down. That takes energy and processing, all for something that wasn't needed in the first place. From a sustainability point of view, avoiding unnecessary additive is always better than cleaning them up later. The parent company paradox. In 2017, Method was bought by SC Johnson, the company behind Windex, Glade, Duck, Mr. Muscle. Method itself doesn't test on animals, they're Leaping Bunny certified. But SC Johnson does test on animals where required by law in certain markets. So, if you buy Method, thinking you're supporting a cruelty-free brand, that can feel like a contradiction once you learn who actually owns it. The transparency gap. If a brand is serious about sustainability, you expect data, carbon footprint, supply chain emissions, real numbers. So where are Method's impact reports? Where is the actual data? From the outside, it is incredibly hard to find clear product level information you can actually check. Some brands publish full carbon footprint reports, supply chain emissions, raw material sourcing, transport, water use. Method, it's very hard to see. And if people can't see the workings, they can't verify the claims. The commercial cleaning con. Now, this doesn't just affect people buying fancy bottles at Waitrose. It's rampant in the commercial cleaning industry too. I see this constantly. Brands marketing as eco-friendly or sustainable to facility managers, hospitals, schools, places that genuinely want to do better. The pitch is always the same. We use natural ingredients. our bottles are recycled, we are concentrated, so you are not shipping water. But then you read the safety data sheet, the SDS, and it is full of petroleum products, synthetic surfactants, preservatives, a completely different story. Even heard companies claim their products are so safe you could drink it. Yes, that was an actual sales pitch. Food safe apparently equals eco-friendly now. And just because an SDS has hazard warnings, that doesn't necessarily mean a product isn't sustainable. Let me explain. Even genuinely eco-friendly concentrated products can show hazard warnings for aquatic toxicity or exposure limits. Why? Because concentration matters. A 10 times concentrated cleaner might harm a fish if you pour it straight into a tank, but once it is diluted for use and goes through wastewater treatment, it breaks down. The key difference is this: a truly sustainable product has a hazard warning related to concentration or handling, not the chemistry itself. What you are looking for are warnings about persistence, bioaccumulation, or long-term toxicity. Phrases like very toxic to aquatic life with long-lasting effects or may cause long-term damage to the environment, those are the real red flags. So, when a brand claims to be eco-friendly, but the SDS warnings about chemicals that stick around, build up in ecosystem and don't break down, that's when the claim starts to fall apart. The problem isn't the SDS. The problem is brands hiding behind complexity, hoping you won't read it while marketing themselves as green. If you're responsible for procurement and you're tired of being sold greenwashed rubbish, the link to book a call with me is in the description below. No sales pitch, just honest advice, and there is one more trick that catches almost everyone. The biodegradability trick, meaning the product breaks down naturally in the environment, right? Except under what conditions. In the EU, to claim a product is biodegradable, typically needs to break down by at least 60% within 28 days. But here is the catch. Those tests are done in perfect lab conditions. Control temperatures, optimize microbes. That's not your drain, and that's not a river. That's not the real world. You will also see the term readily biodegradable. That's an OECD standard. It means the product breaks down 60 to 70% within 28 days in lab tests. But even that doesn't guarantee safety, because biodegradable doesn't tell you what it breaks down into. Some chemicals degrade into compounds that are even more harmful than the original. A genuinely sustainable brand explains how their products biodegrades, where, and backs it up with third-party testing. If a brand just says biodegradable with no detail, that's another major red flag: the price deception. But here is the most frustrating part. We have been told that sustainable has to be expensive, that you have to pay a green premium to do the right thing. It's a lie. When you actually look at the numbers, the genuinely certified products, the ones actually doing the work, are often cheaper. BioD multi-surface cleaner, for instance, it costs 35 to 44p per 100 milliliters. Method multi-surface cleaner around 48p per 100 milliliters. Washing up liquid, BioD 28 to 35p, Method around 66p. So when Method positions itself as a premium eco brand, what are you actually paying for? You're not paying for better ingredients, you're not paying for better transparency, you're paying for branding. What you can actually do: ignore the front label. Seriously, leaf trees, dolphins, it means nothing. Turn the bottle around, read the ingredients list, look for transparency, check for proper certification, EcoCert, EU Ecolabel, cradle to cradle, not made up logos. Read the safety data sheet with context. Look for persistence and bioaccumulation warnings, not just concentration warnings. Ask brands for transparency. If you can't find their supply chain data, email them and choose concentrates or refills wherever possible. If a brand is still selling mostly water and single-use plastic, they're not serious about sustainability. If you manage a cleaning operations and want this done properly, the link to book a call with me is in the description. I have spent 15 years figuring this out, so you don't have to. I'm not saying all eco brands are bad, there are brilliant ones out there. But when marketing replaces proof, people deserve to know. Because sustainability isn't about looking green, it's about proving it.